Imagine what would happen if we somehow managed to slice the moon in half. The moon is Earth's only natural satellite, and its presence is crucial to many aspects of life on our planet. By cutting it in two, the balance between Earth and its companion in space would be dramatically altered. Let's dive into the potential consequences of this bizarre scenario and explore how it would impact everything from tides to life on Earth. The cutting process. To start, let's consider how we might cut the moon. If we had some incredibly powerful device capable of splitting the moon in two, the force required would be immense. The moon's diameter is about 3,474 kilometers, and it's composed of solid rock and metal. Cutting through it would release massive amounts of energy, generating intense heat. As the moon was sliced, both halves would be forced apart, sending shockwaves across its surface. Immediate effects on the moon. As the moon is cut in two, the resulting halves would begin to drift apart. However, they wouldn't just float away smoothly. The gravitational pull between the two pieces would still be significant, possibly causing them to crash back into each other in a series of violent collisions. These impacts would shatter large chunks of rock from both halves, creating clouds of debris around the moon. This debris could eventually form a new ring around Earth, similar to Saturn's rings. Disruption of tidal forces. One of the most significant effects of cutting the moon in half would be on Earth's tides. The moon's gravity plays a major role in controlling the rise and fall of tides. With the moon split, this gravitational force would change drastically. Depending on how far apart the halves drift, tides might become much more unpredictable. In some areas, tides could become weaker, while in others, they might grow stronger, creating dangerous flooding or extreme low tides that leave coastlines exposed. The rhythm of the oceans would be thrown off balance, leading to potential ecological disruptions in marine life. Changes in the night sky. The visual impact of cutting the moon in half would be stunning. From Earth, instead of seeing a single, round moon, we would see two large pieces. Depending on their movement, they might appear as two separate crescents or broken chunks of rock. The light from the sun reflecting off the moon's surface would be different as well, altering the familiar phases we're used to. Nights might become darker overall, as each half would reflect less light than the full moon does today. Gravitational imbalance. The moon's gravitational pull affects not just Earth's tides but also the stability of the planet's axis. The moon helps keep Earth's axial tilt relatively stable, which in turn stabilizes our climate. If the moon were split in half, the balance of forces between Earth and the moon would be disturbed. The halves of the moon might have different gravitational effects on Earth, potentially causing a wobble in our planet's rotation. This could lead to changes in weather patterns, seasons, and even long-term climate shifts. Debris and impacts on Earth. As the moon is cut, large amounts of debris would be ejected into space. Some of this debris could escape the moon's gravity and be pulled toward Earth. Over time, pieces of the moon might fall to Earth as meteorites, causing impacts across the planet. Depending on the size of the debris, these impacts could range from small, harmless events to catastrophic collisions capable of causing widespread destruction. Major impacts could lead to fires, earthquakes, or even tsunamis if they hit the ocean. Potential for new moons. After the moon is cut in half, it's possible that the two pieces could eventually drift far enough apart to become two separate moons orbiting Earth. This new system could create a different gravitational dynamic, with each moon pulling on Earth in different ways. We might experience complex tidal patterns as the gravitational forces of two moons interact with Earth. These moons could also have different orbits, leading to unique phases and alignments that would alter our night sky. Effect on lunar exploration. The human impact of cutting the moon would also be significant. Currently, we rely on the moon as a potential base for future space exploration. Splitting the moon in half would likely render it unstable, making it difficult or impossible to establish long-term colonies. The fractured surface would be filled with craters and unstable regions, and any structures built there would face the constant risk of being destroyed by falling debris or moonquakes caused by the gravitational interaction between the two halves. Impact on eclipses. Lunar and solar eclipses would be completely different if the moon were cut in half. A lunar eclipse occurs when Earth blocks sunlight from reaching the moon, and a solar eclipse happens when the moon passes between Earth and the sun. With two separate moon halves, eclipses might still occur, but they would look very different. Instead of the clean shadow of a round moon, we would see irregular, broken shadows during eclipses. Solar eclipses, in particular, might not fully block the sun anymore, leading to unusual patterns of light and shadow on Earth. Long-term consequences for Earth. In the long term, Earth would likely face numerous challenges due to the loss of the moon's stability. The wobble in Earth's axis caused by the moon's splitting could lead to long-term climate changes. These shifts might disrupt agriculture, ecosystems, and even human settlements. Ocean currents, which are partially driven by the moon's gravitational pull, might change, affecting global weather patterns and marine life. Over time, the Earth's environment could become much less predictable, leading to more extreme weather events and shifts in seasons. The fate of the moon halves. Over time, the two halves of the moon might drift farther apart or be pulled back together by their mutual gravitational pull. If they eventually collided, the impact would be spectacular, with massive explosions sending debris into space. This debris might form a new, smaller moon or spread out in a ring around Earth. If the halves continue to drift apart, they could stabilize into new orbits, becoming twin moons orbiting Earth. In either case, the long-term relationship between Earth and its moons would be forever altered. Effect on life and evolution. The moon has played an important role in the evolution of life on Earth. Its gravitational influence on tides and the stability it provides to Earth's rotation have helped create the conditions necessary for life to thrive. If the moon were cut in half, these conditions would change. Some species might struggle to adapt to the new tidal patterns and environmental shifts, while others might evolve to survive in the altered world. Humans would also face new challenges, especially if the climate becomes less stable and more unpredictable. Conclusion: cutting the moon in half would have profound effects on both the moon itself and life on Earth. The immediate aftermath would involve debris collisions and dramatic changes to our night sky. In the long run, Earth's tides, climate, and even its axial stability would be disrupted, leading to a world very different from the one we know today. While this scenario is purely hypothetical, it shows how interconnected the moon and Earth are and how delicate the balance of forces that sustain life on our planet can be. The moon is not just a distant object in the sky, it plays a crucial role in making Earth the livable world it is today.